always work that way, right? You know, everybody got along. Doesn't always work that way.
Oh yes, working at the nights at the hotel, we'll have the weddings get back in the summer, and we had the mother of the bride get in a fight with actually I don't know who started. I'm not making any assertions.
Recording in progress.
Both got in a fight. One of them called the cops on the other.
All right, welcome everyone.
And then
Please ask everybody to take a seat. We have enough chairs back there?
They both got arrested.
Everybody's fine?
Great.
All right, it is now 6:31 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Fenton Township Board meeting on the 16th day of July, 2024. I would ask everyone to please stand for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Gopal, will you lead us?
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. We pray for our country. Help us engage in meaningful dialogue in a civilized, peaceful manner. Help us to discuss our differences without violence, threats, or hates for our fellow Americans. Bless the sick, the injured, and those who have passed as we pray for an end to the conflicts that exist today. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
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 I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very topical,
Mark?
Mr. Gopal.
Yes.
Very topical.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was a great opening prayer. Operation Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Lorraine.
Present.
Krug is absent. Tucker.
Present.
Gopal. Here. Patrick.
Here.
Kessler.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
6 board members present.
All right, thanks, Tom. I'd like to note for the record that we have our Township Attorney, Jack Belzer, Operations Manager, Tom Broker, our Fire Chief, Ryan Volz, is here somewhere, our Township Assessor, Julia Wilson, and our Township Engineer, at least one of them from Lawrence Engineering, Melissa Lawrence. They're all present this evening also. Tom, will you detail the procedures for those attending tonight's virtual meeting?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I also, starting off good this morning, I also forgot our zoning administrator, Mike Dean. Sorry, Mike.
And this morning, did you notice that?
Okay, Tom, will you detail those procedures?
Let me out of here.
Members
Just
of
getting
the public
started.
attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom, please be advised the meeting is being recorded. Be shown on Public Access TV, Spectrum Channel 191. Recorded meetings are also posted on the Fenton Area Community Television YouTube channel. For those attending via Zoom, we ask that you keep your microphone muted until we reach portions of the meeting where public comment is allowed. For tonight's meeting, there are 3 public hearings pertaining to lake improvement special assessments for Byram Lake and Lake Fenton, and a water system improvement special assessment for landings at Cranes Cove. Public comment will be taken during each of these public hearings. All other public comment will be taken near the end of the meeting. Meeting materials are available for download on the Township's website at fentontownship.org.
All right, thanks, Tom. Moving on to the first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? Hearing that a motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Kessler.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The agenda stands approved as presented. All right, tonight we start off with a presentation from Plant Moran. This is our financial report for the township for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. We have Pam Hill and Amy Titer here from Plant Moran. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening. So thank you for having us here tonight. We're going to talk about the results of the audit for the 12/31/23 fiscal year end. We did complete the audit back at the end of May, but due to some vacations and other things, we are here in July. So thank you for having us. We do plan to kind of cover the results of the audit just at a high level. You should have in your packet the financial statements, the end of audit letter, and then we did perform a compliance examination this year. So that would be something that was a little bit different for the township. And we tested the township's compliance with spending of ARPA dollars. And so it was like a 1 or 2 page report. But basically what that report says is that we did not have any findings. So the township spent the ARPA dollars in compliance with the grant. And so that's good news, right? Also, a couple different things that happened with the township's audit this year. We did have some new auditing standards and some new GASBs as well. So a few things that were a little bit different, took a little more time on behalf of your team and our team. So we really wanted to just thank Supervisor Lorraine, Treasurer Tucker, Clerk Krug, Mr. Broker and his entire team. We work with a lot of different people throughout the township, and so we really appreciate the professionalism that allows us to really be efficient during the audit. Also, I think one thing I wanted to point out is we really, I think, have a really good relationship throughout the year. So we appreciate that relationship in terms of if something comes up, the township's reaching out when you have new projects, new grants, and we really kind of dig into some of those nuances and details early, which allows us to really have an efficient audit process. So we really appreciate that, Tom, with you and your team. So with that, like I said, we do have some graphs that are just going to cover kind of a highlight of the year, look at some trends, and I'm going to turn it over to Amy and let her take us through those.
Thank you, Pam. As Pam said, instead of going through all 50 or so pages of those financial statements, as much fun as that sounds, we prepared a graph presentation to just go over the highlights and key takeaways for you all. So moving into the first slide, we'll focus on the general funds. Here you see a 5-year trend for general fund revenue. For this graph, revenue is broken out into 8 categories, which you can see detailed there below the chart and indicated by different colors on the bar. I'm sure what's jumping out to everyone on the page here is the height of the 2023 bar. Total revenue did increase by about $5.5 million from prior year. However, $5 million of this increase relates to an MEDC grant the township received from the state for the Thompson Road project. The state essentially pre-funded a portion of this project and paid the township upfront, which results in much of the increase you see here. The remaining portion of the increase is caused by a couple of things. First, investment income increased by roughly $375,000, in addition to property taxes increasing by about $200,000. The next slide is similar to the last one. However, here we are looking at general fund expenditures over the past 5 years. Again, total expenditures are broken out into 7 categories detailed here below the chart. I know we just talked about revenue's notable increase over prior year. However, you may notice expenses didn't quite see the same jump this year. This is due to the pre-funding nature of that MEDC grant the township received, meaning the township expects to spend most of this money in future years as the project really takes off. We will revisit this when we review general fund balance on the next slide, so keep that in mind. But before we move into that, let's break down this $1 million increase in expenses that we did see in 2023, which is mainly attributable to 2 of those categories listed. First, general government increased by about $400,000, which was mainly due to increased township capital projects, including the improvements to Township Hall that we are all enjoying right now. Additionally, Public Works increased by about $550,000, which represents road projects. I'd like to say the takeaway from this slide is that the consistency we see over this 5-year trend really illustrates the township's effective budgeting and proper planning. So when there are years when there are more capital projects and needs for the township, such as perhaps this year, the township has the means to meet those needs. Now moving into the next slide, if you all remember, I did say we'd revisit that MEDC grant one more time, and keep an eye on that orange bar on this 5-year trend. So this is a 5-year trend of the general fund balance. Overall, for fiscal year 2023, the township's general fund had a fund balance of $10.6 million at year end, which is an increase of about $5.2 million from the prior year. The majority of this increase, about 4.8 million, relates to the MEDC grant we have talked about a lot today, which is restricted for the Thompson Road project and is reflected on that orange bar. So you can see the jump there, similar to the jump in the revenue. Unrestricted fund balance as of 12/31 was 4.7 million. This graph also provides expenditures, annual expenditures and percentages across the bottom there. What those percentages represents are unrestricted fund balance divided by annual expenditures. So as you can see, this means that for the last 3 years, general fund could operate for more than a year without collecting revenues. Really, what this is telling us is that this is a healthy general fund. And the fund balance is in a healthy spot and puts the township in a great overall position to focus on future township needs and for capital projects.
And I think if I could just add
Yeah.
if I could just add one comment too. I think it is important to focus, and Amy mentioned this briefly. These kind of results don't just happen. This is very intentional budgeting and long-term planning by the board and management, as well as kind of the tenacity to go out and get those grant funds. Not everybody is seeing the same results as you in terms of the funding that you've been able to get. So I think you should be really proud of the hard work your team and you all have done to obtain those grants and help pay for some of these infrastructure projects that will benefit all the residents in the township. So that would kind of be another takeaway that I would say just overall from the health of the township and what we're seeing just in comparison to other communities.
Thanks, Pam.
Yep.
Absolutely. We have one final graph here on the next slide to go into briefly, and this is touching on the township's OPEB plan, other post-employment benefits plan. Again, similar to all the other graphs, the trend over the past 5 years, the green bar or teal bar, if you will, represents the total OPEB liability of the township, while the orange bar represents the plan net position. You can see for the past 5 years, the township has hovered from about 93 to over 100% funded, which is well funded, and honestly, the township should be commended, that's the trend today as well, for their hard work in funding this plan. This puts the township in a position where the focus doesn't have to be on long-term legacy costs and can be on the true needs of the township in order to better serve the community. This is definitely another piece of the puzzle factoring into the strong financial position that we keep talking about today of the township, and really a good note to end on for the PowerPoint portion of this presentation.
Before you go, I mentioned to Pam and Amy that I had the pleasure of sitting through a Canton Township board meeting where Plant Moran did this presentation. It was not these two lovely ladies. These ladies did a much better job. But while we're on the last slide about the OPEB funding, and although I'm deeply disappointed that we're at 98.9 instead of 123%, I can tell you that the numbers in Canton Township, if you had been there that night, they were OMG numbers in terms of both the number and the percentage of funding relative to this. I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but the takeaway is that the liability was huge and the funding percentage was in the 20s, I think. Okay, so I know we've worked hard to get to this point for a number of years, but I saw it live. It isn't happening everywhere that way, so we should all be proud of what we've done with that.
All right, well I know we had a letter included as well. I know you got a full house here today, so we're happy to cover anything in particular. If you have any questions or anything in particular that we didn't cover that you'd like us to, but otherwise that was all we had planned.
Pam, Amy, we got to spend a whole week with you, or a little more than a week.
Yeah.
But is there any questions or comments for either of them regarding the financial statement? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, moving on to the next business order is the meeting minutes. Included in the packet are the meeting minutes from the June 18th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to these meeting minutes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Moving on to expenditures, are there any questions from the board regarding any of the invoices? All right, a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $914,312.91 for payment.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Krug is absent. Kotrick?
Yes.
Kessler?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Gopel? Yes. Tucker?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, expenditures stand approved as presented. All right, moving on to public hearings. This is proposed lake improvement special assessment district, Byram Lake, hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new lake improvement special assessment district for Byram Lake for the continuation of the weed control program. The total estimated cost of the project is $152,652.75 spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost of the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Is there anyone that is attending tonight that would like to address the board regarding the special assessment district for Byram Lake? All right, hearing none, I will now look out to Zoom. Is there anybody that's attending via Zoom tonight that would like to address the board? If there is, just raise your hand or turn on your mic. All right, hearing none, I will now close public comment. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, resolution number 2024-15. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2024-15 approves the plans and estimated costs of $152,652.75, creates Byram Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, which includes all properties with frontage on or legal access to Byram Lake, directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operation Manager Broker, we call the roll.
Reed?
Yes.
Gopel?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Kessler?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Kotrick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thanks, Tom. In anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Township Clerk. Resolution number 2024-16. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2024-16 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll at the August 20th board meeting, directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Move the resolution.
Support.
All right, resolution's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Kotrick?
Yes.
Kessler?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Gopel?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
Thanks, Tom. All right, next under public hearings is proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District. This is for Lake Fenton, and this is the hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Lake Fenton for the continuation of the weed control program. The total estimated cost of the project is $245,021.56 spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the Special Assessment District, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost of the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Is there anyone? Well, Tom, do we have any written comments in the packet?
There are 4 written objections in the, they're included in the packet, in the e-packet. 3 were objections to the program itself, and 1 was regarding how the costs were allocated.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone that's attending tonight? Yes, sir. If you don't mind, could you come up to the podium, please? All we'd ask is just keep your comments to about 3 minutes.
Way less than
State
that.
your- all right,
Actually, I have
state
3
your name,
questions.
please.
Am I okay to ask questions?
Questions?
terms
No,
of
it's
this
just
assessment?
public comment.
Well, I mean,
We can-
within reason.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
how do we measure effectiveness? We've had this program in place. Is there a way we could be more effective on this weed management? Or are we being as aggressive as we can be?
You
Well,
need-
Yes,
You need to
it's-
address that to the folks that are doing it. you know, the obvious way is to stop doing it and see what happens. Wouldn't recommend that to.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, so.
But I'm
yeah.
obviously paying an assessment for
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
am I paying, should I be paying more for a more aggressive program?
Yeah, I'm not competent. I don't know that anybody
I'm
on
not
here
either.
is
That's
a
why when he started
weed-
talking questions, I was wondering,
Well, yeah, we're only responding to what was presented to us by the association. We're not the ones saying this is what needs to be done. The association is saying, here's the program we want to do, and we'd like the township board to.
So
create a
this is
special
their
assessment.
program.
correct.
But you're a consultant. I mean, when they have meetings with that consultant, I don't remember which one it is for this one. We have several of them tonight.
Okay.
You can ask that question. That's a good question to ask them. Is there something that we can do that would work better, and how much would it cost?
Right.
Those are all legit questions. It's just, I don't think there's anybody here that has any clue about
No.
the answer to that.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
Yep.
George has a clue.
Excuse me, yes, oh, can we get your name for the record? I thought he stated it, I'm sorry.
David Dupree, D-U-P-R-E-1.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in attendance that would like to address the board? Just on this special, yes, sir. You can come on up.
Easier said than done.
Sorry about that.
It's not usually that hard.
Could you just give us your name?
Rich Moore. So mine, again, is the question as well. In this special assessment, you guys don't dictate where it's getting treated. And then the second part of the question is, why do just the owners that have land are only being assessed, right? I know this is a continuation, but the South Marina, Skipper Buds, I watch right across the street at the middle school, we're still doing drops because the whole middle school parking lot is filled with boats, with trailers. So everyone's benefiting from us paying. That's not fair.
Well, Tom, you want to address those? I mean,
Well, Skipper Buds is assessed.
yeah, they are assessed.
They're included.
No, in this, it doesn't state that they're assessed. And when I asked for the documentation on it, you guys stated only landowners. Skipper Buds for each slip does not have a special assessment.
Not for each slip. They have
Okay.
three parcels of property on the water. And each
Agreed, so they get 3 individuals, but not for all the slips, for all the users of the actual lake. So you guys stated in the call out, that it was a shared with all individuals that are utilizing the lake.
No, the statute says the costs are allocated to the owners of the properties who benefit from the improvement.
Agreed. But they get to benefit much more than we get to benefit because they get to add in all the slips to recoup all that cost.
Please speak up.
Oh, sorry.
That's you.
Oh. Oh, they can't hear you back in the back, sorry.
Sorry, the microphone's not very close. This approach is what was requested by the association when we started this 10 years ago, and it has not deviated to my knowledge.
Can you speak up? I can't hear you.
I don't think your mic's close enough.
Yeah.
Is there any more slack in there?
We in the back can't hear when the board is speaking.
Can you hear me when I speak?
Yeah, we can always hear you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, the method of
You got two
of
mics.
assessing the costs was
And I talk loud.
requested by the association when this was first done 10 years ago, and it was done in 2014 and again in 2019. So, and it has not changed.
We agree, but more slips and more added boat traffic on the lake has changed, and it's continued to go up. So now we are paying for more people to utilize the lake, and we're still paying. They're not getting added at the DNR drop, and there's people dropping and running boats over the middle school. We're not paying for the added slips that got added into Skipper Buds. We're not paying for the south end that almost doubled the amount of slips that have been added over the years. It's getting shared with the property owners themselves. All this added structure that all these people are making lots of money off, they should be individually taking on some of this opportunity.
Well, you need to talk to the state legislature because
I did, I wrote a letter to
All
it.
right, well, the process in place, and all we're doing is a financial handling of the process, is tied to property ownership. It's not tied to people coming on the lake. It's not tied to how many users. It's tied to property.
That's
So
the same thing
if-
they stated, so then I'd like to put a motion in place that you allow the rest of us to collect all our petitions, because it's well more than the 20% that are on the lake, so.
Well, you need to go to Lansing with those petitions and get the
No,
law
I need
changed.
for you guys not to pass it tonight. Lansing stated I had to put a petition on the record that I want this to be allotted extra time to be vetted through with the rest of the property owners that are signing on the petition. I have tons of people that are signing up on a petition. State of Michigan said all I had to do was ask, and you guys would allow us extra time to facilitate well more than the 20%, which it's more like 50%. There we go. I have a whole street full signed already. So,
According to the statute, and Mr. Belzer can correct me if I'm wrong, according to the statute, once the notice is sent out, the 20% threshold. has to
agreed.
be-
And the state said all I had to do was ask. You guys can allow us extra time. You're our board. You're helping us understand how we can voice our opinion.
So, I guess what I don't understand is, okay, let's just say we grant an extra
An
meeting.
extra
Hold on,
week.
just let me
Yeah.
speak. What you're saying is you're gonna get signatures to stop the process, so you don't want the weeds, because we can't
No,
change
no,
what they
I-
do in Lansing as far as how the formula works. So all we're gonna do is just, am I wrong, Jack? We're just basically gonna stop the process then?
If, if the petitions are filed pursuant to the statute that the gentleman's talking about, what that does, that then requires there be a vote about, or other petitions, you need 50%, so you can stop the process, but the process he's talking about will not change the allocations. You can stop the
That's
whole
what I'm
process.
saying, so we
right.
can stop the, we're gonna, if they come back with 20% or more, then we'll just stop the process, so there will be no weed treatment then. Is that my understanding? Because
Well,
we can't change.
Then they would have to go through the petition process like they
You
did
get
the first time.
50%, right.
You get over 50%, and then we're right back to the same point.
Right.
Because we
if we
can't
get over
change the
50.
way that the formula works, right?
Well, the board, first of all, tonight is to create the special assessment
Assessment
district.
district.
We're not approving the allocation of costs. We do have a proposed special assessment role prepared if the board creates the district that would then be subject of the next hearing. It's the special assessment role itself is that determines the allocation of the costs. That is not the topic. The resolutions tonight are, one, to create the special assessment district, and if that one passes, two, to schedule a public hearing on that role.
And then based on that, what I learned from the state is that you can challenge how the assessment is gone after and allocate it for those that are utilizing the lake. So there is a route, because the state of Michigan told me, we have always done, Lake Fenton Association, what's always been accustomed to. The problem is we've continued to add more slips and more people utilizing our lake, while we, the homeowners, are continued to pay to, agreed, the weeds need to be done, but there's a process that we can challenge to actually redistribute that load of the weed. Because other lakes have done it. So I heard from the state, other lakes have done it, there is a way to do it. And if that's the case, then I'll push that process through.
Jack?
Okay, the board can do a different allocation. I mean, generally, all your special assessment districts are based upon front footage, or in this case, parcels. Conceivably, and this is just off the top of my head, conceivably, if you have some parcels like the gentleman's talking about that have a greater impact on the lake, you could assess them differently, but you have to have some formula. You can't just say because it's a marina, they're going to pay 3 times everybody out. You have to have some sort of a formula. You have to have some basis.
How do we address the public access? I mean, there's 150
Well, you-
boats every,
you can't.
5 times more
I mean,
than
that's just-
Skipper Bud's.
Well, right, you can't, there's no good way you can do that.
So how do we satisfy this gentleman and these people that are here? I mean, do we just, I mean, I don't want to stop the process. I live on lake. Just
Agreed.
I don't
Yeah.
want to stop the process
Agreed.
because, I mean, for $200 a
It's not the
year, to
money, it's the
me-
principle, right?
not
And
200 a year.
I think we all agree.
40, it's 40
We
bucks
want
a
to
year.
go
Yeah,
after
it's $40 a year. So to
we
me,
want to
if
go
we
after
added-
taking care of our lake.
But if we
100%.
added 10 more parcels to Skipper Buds, and we're paying $40 a year, what is it gonna take, 30 cents off? So what I'm saying is that I just don't want to stop the process. That's just one vote, but I'm just saying, if there's a solution to this, Jack, we can, if you want to stop the whole process and be able to go and add 5 more to Skipper Buds, and I guess we could tax everybody that got through the,
Well, there's no
access.
way to address the public access. I can't imagine how you would do that.
Well,
Like
other
you
lakes have actually bumped up a DNR
sir,
associated fee on top of
Can I
public access.
finish my statement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, the only possible way, because that public access, I assume, is owned by the state. And so you could somehow, you have to have a formula. And so if you say that all the other access ones pay 2 shares or 3 shares or 100 shares, whatever, you can do that, but you have to treat all those, so the public access, the marinas, and I don't know how much of an effect all that would have. As you said, the actual financial impact of all that would be nominal, but you could conceivably do something other than the commercial parcels being just assessed as one parcel because of their use there. And I don't know what formula you come up
but
with.
how would we, and I'm not fighting against it, I'm just saying, because I live on the lake, if I can save 50 cents, I'll save 50 cents, but I'm just saying, how can we go to, like Skipper Butts, what's going to be fair? I mean, aren't they going to look at something and say it's fair? If they have 3 parcels, and that's the same formula we're using for everybody else, what are we going to do and say, well, they got 85 boat slips or 25 boat slips, so we're going to take each parcel and multiply it by 3.5? I mean, I don't understand.
Wow.
I mean, it worries me that we're going to maybe put this process off, and for not much gain. I understand principle, and I agree with you. I just don't know how to do it.
So you'd have to come up with some formula that conceivably could be fair, so you don't end up with a bunch of tax tribunal cases challenging all this, because conceivably the process could end up costing way more than any benefit that may be gained. But so if you came up with, this is just totally off the top of my head without any forethought, if you said for every slip you pay 1 share, so that means the houses that have more than 1 slip, maybe they pay more. I don't know. But you could conceivably come up with something different other than per parcel. That'd be very hard to come up with something that doesn't challenge anything. And again, the numbers aren't going to be real big anyways, and these commercial outfits may be willing to pay, twice what they should pay if they just had the 1 parcel thing. I mean, I don't know, but there is a method to do that other than per parcel, but that's really going to be convoluted, complicated.
Does it open us up, for instance, if the township board decided to move in that direction? I mean, would it open the township up to litigation from Skipper Buds or anybody?
Well, sure, you
because
could
we
get-
start assessing them differently?
Right,
then
you could, tax
really-
tribunal cases that, invariably you could end up spending a bunch of money on costs for tax tribunal hearings, sure.
Okay.
Tom, how many people are in the district?
Hold on.
We have 800 and,
Yeah, do the math. I was just gonna stop
well,
and have
there's
Tom do
839 in the township and 41 in the city. The city of Fenton will do a separate special assessment district
And
and
they will pay
contribute
us.
the same amounts.
that. So the people on the south end of the lake will be paying.
Well, when I talked to them, the marina on the south end of the lake is done differently, just like Skipper Buds does, based on the amount of property, right? So they were able to add slips over the last few years, but their frontage hasn't gone up anymore, so now you've added quite a more boats and that traffic in that area, but they're not paying any extra for having, what, they had 14 slips or something like that?
Do you have numbers? Do you know Skipper Bud's number of docks or slips? Or
I don't have the latest number, no.
Okay.
I will get you that.
do you have a ballpark idea, or do you not? I don't want to put you
I
out.
think it was right around 75,
I was
but
gonna say between 60 and 70.
Yeah.
Just use the high number, use 100.
I
I'd say
have the
14
actual
on the
numbers.
south end.
And we're not the first to challenge this. There's other lakes within Michigan that have challenged it. And to Jack's point, you got to figure it out to be fair, but I just don't as a property owner, I've been on this lake for a long time, I've moved around. It's not fair doing it this way.
And I know there's a lot of people that have the same question, so, because I heard a few people raising their hands, and I will listen to that, but is this something that, on principle, that let's say it saves us $2 a year, that you want to move forward on? All I'm asking, that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying one side or the other, because I live on this lake also, so I save. So I'm not
The money
proposing anything.
I would say the money to most of the people here doesn't really matter. It's the principle that.
Okay. All right, thank you
Right.
very much. I appreciate it.
Oh,
We're gonna
thanks.
call- Oh, is there anything else? I'm sorry.
Well, that's, I guess, my last thing. The state said either get a continuation to put in your petition, or the board can decide and come up with another calculation, or we can give examples of what other lakes have done on the state of Michigan, or they gave a whole list of stuff that we can do, so.
Okay. I'm going to listen to the rest of the people
Okay.
that have something
Thank
to
you
say,
for
and then
my
we'll,
time.
we'll go from there. All right.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. You want to come on up?
Yeah. While he's coming up, if I could make a suggestion, again, the allocation of the cost is not up for a vote tonight.
Today.
It's creating the district, scheduling a hearing a month from now, 5 weeks from now, I think, on the roll, which gives us 5 weeks where we have a proposed roll that could be amended before or at the public hearing if the board decides they want to change it. So I think it would be counterproductive to stop the process and require a petition. It wouldn't get done this year. And then you've got a real problem. If the only issue is the allocation of the costs, that can be addressed on or before the hearing on the roll without stopping the process. That's my recommendation.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi,
Does everybody out there understand what he was saying? That we can pass what we have in front of us tonight, and we have 5 weeks to do what you guys said. You know, we can research that, try to figure out a different allocation method, something like that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody heard him, since people were having a hard time hearing Tom.
My
Yes,
name
sir.
is Gene Kovacs. I live on Torrey. The problem with all that conversation is a lot of sloppiness to it. You have a way of curing it. You could, and I'm assuming the assessments are going to be on a real estate value versus a lineal footage, which
No.
Equal
it's
shares.
lineal
It's
footage.
equal share.
Equal shares.
Equal share, so it doesn't matter your value of home or whatever. Well, I have a problem with that, given the fact that you have homes with 300 feet, you have homes with 60 feet, so there's a discrepancy there. The other issue I have is with the public launch, which we all know is a nightmare every weekend. It's a nightmare every weekend. You have morons out there, you have idiots out there. State of Michigan, DNR does not pay their fair share for this service. And somebody needs to approach, and I believe it should be Vince, should approach the state of Michigan and suggest that there should be a fee attached to the DNR if they're going to keep utilizing the lake. With my grandchildren out there on the weekend, it's a nightmare. And I feel that if you would increase the fees, increase the rates, maybe you'd get rid of some of the quote problems on the lake. But there is a solution to go lineal. You know, same with skipper bods. You have slips. Do lineal on their slips. They're taking full advantage of the lake. The DNR is taking full advantage of the lake, and having the kind of taxes that we pay in this environment and the fees that we pay in this environment today, people need to, that's why these people are here. You know, $40 doesn't mean shit to me, but $40 to somebody else that's struggling to pay their property taxes is huge. And I think it needs to be taken into consideration.
Just a couple of questions for you, and again, I'm not trying to be adversarial. On the linear fee, as a riparian, I don't look at my neighbor, they enjoy the lake the same as I do. It doesn't matter if their property's bigger than mine or smaller than mine. I think all the families love to enjoy the lake, so to me, I think we get into more of a problem because, I mean, just because somebody has a ton of linear feet doesn't mean that they have, that they're enjoying it more, using it more. They may be using it less. The biggest house on this lake doesn't even use the lake.
Right.
So the bottom line is, a linear feet, I don't think is our answer.
Okay.
The access, I will certainly talk to our state rep and see if there's something we can
I'm
do
just
about
saying,
the access.
I mean,
I don't see how we could.
If this is all about the quality of the lake,
This is actually just about this assessment.
okay, understood, but it's about the quality of the lake, it's about the quality of the water. And the problem being is, and again, I go back to what was touched on, is the DNR and that public access. They do not pay their fair share for the access from the whole state of Michigan.
Who doesn't pay the fair?
The people using the DNR
Oh,
and,
so you
and
want to
public
increase the
access.
fees to the people that are using it?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we're gonna allow them to come on a lake that is all subsidized by property owners, then they should be paying their fair share. And that's what we're all about today, right? Paying your fair share? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it, Gene.
Ask another quick clarification question.
Gene, we have
No,
trust.
this isn't a question for him.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to ask, I know that we can do it by frontage legally, if we wanted to. We can do it by frontage, we know we can do it by parcel. Anything else is a little risky, maybe, as far as litigation.
You can, special assessments, so for example, if you were going to do a drainage area, you can assess everybody that drains into that area. It's not just the people right there, but any people like a mile away that drains into there, that can be assessed. So it's a matter of benefit to the individuals. So yeah, you can do it other ways.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Okay, so we can do it by parcel, we can do it by frontage, and we can do it by another way
Other way.
if it's in some way related to the benefit.
To the benefit,
received.
yes.
Is there anyone else that's in attendance tonight? Yes, come on up. I guess he was first, and I'll get you, I promise. I think we all know who you are, but you can please state your name.
George Dyball. I'm a past president of the Property Owners Association and was the president at the time 10 years ago that we set this first one into motion. We did do a whole different type of method up till that point in time in an attempt to do individual lots and let individual people pay. We found out with the way the lake was happening and the growth of the weeds that was happening, a lot of the people were complaining. They just drive and take a pontoon ride around the lake and how they get their wells plugged up with weeds. Have to back up 2, 3, 4 times just to get rid of the weeds. That all led to excess weeds being sent to the people properties on the lake and all the smell that was there unless you clean them all up. So the Property Owners Association 10 years ago set up and said, hey, what can we do to do this? Well, if we do a lake-wide treatment and treat just out in the areas where basically the areas of either exotic weeds are or where we got boats in main usage that are getting problems with their fun and enjoyment of the time around and that, what can we do? So we set up and Tom, we worked with Tom way back then, and actually we weren't the first lake in the township. There's been many that have been before us. So we kind of went in as, how do you do this? And the process that had been established even way before us 10 years ago was that parcels was the best way to do it. And that's why we're still doing it today. There are some unique things that maybe could be addressed, but really I don't have any control of, and maybe the board can do something about it. The DNR doesn't pay anything. Okay, they're a government agency, wonders of the government. That's the way the world works. But there are things that right now we said the best way is by doing it. We thought it was by parcel. Everyone, even if you got 1,000-foot frontage that poor Linda does now on the Rockies Point or whatever, she's only got one boat. So the logic of usage to 1,000-foot frontage makes no sense to me, and it hadn't apparently to all the previous lakes that we've done with so far in all the township around. They're all done by parcel, to the best of my knowledge. Is that correct, Tom? That's correct.
Okay, so it didn't seem to make sense, even though we have a launch facility that provides X number of boats available to be on, but that's it. That's all they're allowed. Once their parking lot's filled, they can't let any more boats in. We worked that process through. And so that stops that at X number. And yes, the marinas, all of them have X number of people with usage.
How you go about that uniquely, I don't know. Okay, if you wanted to try something that way, but you're gonna just start a nightmare nest, in my opinion, because what you're gonna have is, okay, well, the marina's got 94 boats. Well, wait a minute, my neighbor down here's got 10. Well, this guy doesn't have any, so he doesn't pay for anything. How do you do that? What's a jet ski versus a boat? What's a pontoon? What's something else? So it was basically left to, we joined the crowd of people that already on other lakes that have been using parcels all along. I think the word, excuse me, when it gets right down to it, our lake and doing it the way we've been doing it, I think it's been very successful. In fact, one of the letters that Tom got in the group of 4 wasn't really, I guess it was a complaint, but the person said, I am so glad because I've seen the nicest, cleanest lake in my rides around in the last 10 years. So yes, it is working, it's doing good. We do have a ways, the first gentleman that asked, of monitoring it. The Property Owners Association gives reports by the company that does it. And if there are specific questions, I brought the gentleman along that's been the manager that's been doing this for 10 years on the lake right next to me here, that Steve would gladly answer any questions uniquely about weeds. But Tom's point is tonight, we're really not talking about that. We should have been doing, anybody that had a complaint should have been coming to the Property Owners Association meeting. We should have been discussing it there, and then we'd have looked a lot nicer when we'd have had a solid position to carry it to you with some changes if that's the case, rather than trying to here to do it as a township board.
Thank you, George. I really appreciate it. Is there, you sir in the back, you still want to come out and address the board? Can you just state your name for the record?
Gary Walker, Fenton Township. I don't live on a lake any longer, but I had, and I'm just wondering if this is a question that anyone else has had. First, I'm going to ask you a question. Who's in control of the lake? Isn't it the state? It's operated and controlled by the state. Is that correct?
Yes, waters are.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, in the most respectful way I can, why is the township handling this instead of the state?
You know, John, you do the best of explaining this. We just finance this. It is the Lake Fenton Property Owners Association that comes to us with the signatures 10 years ago and said, we want to do this. We create a special assessment district. All we do is finance the project. This township board doesn't go out and start taxing people or doing, this is all you. This is all the residents that
I just think it's a legitimate question. I just wondered, why is the township doing it? I know there has to be a reason that it's easier to be done by the township than it is by the state.
I think George answered the question was, think about this. Let's just say there's 890 houses on this lake.
Right.
Probably 30 or 40 come to a meeting. Lucky. And not even that. But what I'm saying is, you have to then, an association has to go out and try to knock on everybody's door, bill everybody, get the money. What do you do to the people that don't pay? So townships, municipalities create special assessment districts so we can put it on the tax roll. So everybody pays. We pay the vendor. That's all the township does. We didn't initiate this. We didn't come to you and say we're going to force you to clean the lake up and do weed control. We just sit here as a board and approve the special assessment district.
And we did not create the process itself. The process itself is created by state legislation. So if you want to change the way that's done, you got to go to Lansing to do that. The reason it's done at the Fenton Township level is because the properties that surround the lake are primarily in the township. And that's true for all other ones. And I'll say this just as an editorial comment. I have found that the extent government works, it works best on a small level. The bigger the scale of the government, the bigger the failure.
Everybody here would probably agree with that.
Okay, well, I wouldn't want to have this done at the state level. I think it would be a train wreck.
I do too.
And
I still thought it was a fair question.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not.
No, it's a fair question.
It's a fair
but
question.
We didn't create the process. We didn't create the request to do the work. All we are is a fiscal money passing folks. We collect the money from all of the people around the lake. We write a check to the consultant that dumps the stuff in the lake. Nobody here is competent to tell you what the best thing or way is as far as weed treatment goes.
I
That
mean,
gentleman
I had more questions, but most people asked them already.
over-
So,
good.
thank you for your
We're
time.
being efficient.
Thank you very much, Gary. Anyone else who would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Katrina Fellenbaum. Thank you so much for allowing commentary and questions. There were a lot of things that were stated today. There were questions I had. I've only been on the lake 9 years, so I've learned a lot. I think I heard it's just a continuation.
Yes.
And that's cool. That's all right. They answered a lot of our questions from my friends and family. For me, we live in Wendell, so we live in the Cove. I don't think I appreciate as much the weeds removal because I still have a lot. And so I myself personally, actually, I think 6 of us have now all purchased aqua sweeps so that we can push the weeds out. And we work really, really hard in our cove to try to keep the weeds at bay. So I don't know, I mean, for me, it was more like, I didn't know the person was here who does the weed treatment. That's great. My questions were more aimed at, are we using the right approach? Are we using the right chemicals? Are we doing the same thing we've done for 10 years? Are we doing something different? So I know you can't answer it. It's not really a question, it's kind of a statement.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
And what it is that, again, Katrina, is that we don't do anything but finances.
Sure.
So bottom line is that
for them.
it would have been better, maybe they need to do a better job of disseminating what they do for the township, or for what they do for the lake, Lake Fenton. But bottom line is it's through them. They have a meeting. Don't you have the company that you contract with come in once a year and explain this to everybody? So what I would recommend is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And not only that, but if you were part of that, you could have been there and said, hey, I've got a problem, because the money that you spent buying that equipment, you could have told them just probably to do a better job treating your area.
Yeah,
Again,
I
I don't
think-
know,
yeah.
but
We actually used it, this last presentation has been running on the website for...
Well, I don't know if there's anybody else here who just learned that just now. I pay that 3-year, every year I get something from them that says join me and here's your 3-year check, and every year I'm like, God, am I still a member or not? And every year I just write a 3-year check. So I'm pretty sure I'm all caught up on that. Just gonna say. I didn't know. I didn't know that that was there, so I've learned a lot. And the only reason I'm standing at this podium is just to say thank you, because I am trying to be an active member and I'm trying to learn more about what we do and why we do it. So I've learned a lot today. I appreciate the suggestion to maybe build the residential parcels a little differently and approach the commercial parcels differently. I think that's something that's worth looking into. I have a government history myself. I worked for a long time there, so I just want to say thanks to everybody, and I appreciate all the questions. I'll definitely do more to try to find out more about what the association is doing.
Katrina, thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else that'd like to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Spring Tremaine. I grew up on this lake. I moved here when I was a very small child and swam in this lake my whole life, 50 plus years. Those weeds are disappearing. I used to have to navigate many, many cattails to get to the island by boat as a small child. And this lake is being slowly eradicated of every weed. And I want to remind all of you, I am objecting to us killing more weeds. Weeds filter water and keep it safe for us. I'm here on an environmental platform. There used to be many snakes in the lake, now there's none. There's a lot less frogs, there's a lot of aquatic changes and damage that occurs over time. And I know all you guys just want to keep your props clean, but we are eradicating weeds every day in that lake. Every time we drive around, we take down the weeds. And I guess I don't want you all to lose sight of the fact that we are killing the reasons that a lot of that lake is the way it is. The fish and the frogs and the snakes and the turtles, all those need clean water and weeds to survive. I do object to what you're doing. I did learn a bit today. I think that the way you put this out was very unclear. I didn't know how much I was going to be assessed. For all I knew, I was being assessed $250,000. I don't think you guys were very clear on that in this paper. And was there another way for me to learn that? Possibly, but you gave me 8 days to respond. I don't think that's enough time from the date of this letter to this meeting for me to set up a petition to stop it, because you said right in here, we will stop the proposal if you have 20% objecting, I could get 20%. I think this gentleman in black can get 20%, as he said, but you didn't give us enough time, and I don't think it should be voted on today. I don't think you've given us enough opportunity to respond. I don't know how much money is involved. I don't know how it's going to impact me. I don't know how it's going to impact the environment. But I think as a lifelong resident of Lake Fenton, we should be thinking about all those things, not just the bottom dollar, or does it cost you $40 more?
Thanks, Spring.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. No, I really do. Thank you very much.
Answers to any of those questions that she's asking?
Do you want any answers to your questions, Spring?
If you have time,
We will make time.
I mean, Byron, the township, or the lake that just...
George, I don't think anybody else is going to be able to hear you unless you come up.
Just as an example, Byron Lake, the lake that you just heard walk out of here without any questions, those people are going to pay $233.05 every year for 5 years. That's what they accepted to do. We on Lake Fenton, the average of the 5 years is going to be $58.41 per parcel. Okay? That was one of the questions. What was the other question she had? Somebody else asked a question.
She didn't want the treatment at all.
I want to make a statement. I can have Steve talk more about it if we need to, but we're not here to eradicate all the weeds. That's not this program's plan. This program is designed for killing of the exotics and the invasive weeds that are in this lake. That's what you don't want. You don't want Eurasian water milfoil. You don't want starry stonewort and those kind of things that are exotics. Those are what this program focuses on. We do not intend to ever kill a native weed in this lake, whoever that lady was that was speaking, because I love to fish. I got more people who come out in front of my house to fish than anywhere on this lake, I swear. I can almost tell you the boat numbers, because that's where you get fish. We are for that. We, the association, work with the DNR to get, on a yearly basis, fish stockings for that lake out there of walleyes and other fish for free. Now that's one of the things that the state does for us, where they don't pay for the weed control program because they're a government entity and their parcel's exempt. But we get nice treatment from them by having the DNR here, which many of the lakes don't have. They're not state-owned like we are, because we get fish from them for free. We don't have to pay for fish stocking like Byron does and other lakes that don't have a DNR access point on them. So there's a lot of things that go on. All we talk about is all these things, and we can bring in any other topics you want to the association meeting. We'd love to have participation so you can learn more about this lake. It's a great lake. And by the way, whoever said something, I saw yesterday, I took a picture of it, a 40-inch snake went right up my yard. Okay, right there. Swimming like mad, living on my shore. And they're all around. You think we don't? We still have geese. We still have all kinds of fowl and animals and fish in this lake. So there are some real positive things that this program does do in terms of weed control. And it's not intended to make everybody's property a swimming pool beach. It's not. It's against the law to do that. We have specific individual properties that have unique problems. You can go up and beyond even with his company and have your own individual area treated if you got a unique problem with something. But we're here just to do the basic of the lake and kill the exotic and invasive weeds.
Thanks, George.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
And there's 35 turtles on my channel. 35. Yes.
We have 7 beavers. I got some pet beavers. Just saying.
All right. Is there anyone else here that's attending tonight? Yes, sir. Good evening. State your name.
Thank you. John Evans. So I'm just curious, we said we had 839 Fenton Township residents on the lake. Was that accurate?
Parcels.
Parcels. Okay, and 41 in the city. So 880 total. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And then you were saying that the assessment per parcel is $40?
I think
is
you
that
just
right?
clarified at 58.
So
It's averages.
Average.
It's
Okay,
high the
so-
first year, low the second year, and then it kind of meters out.
It's $292.04 over the 5-year period.
Okay, so the 5, okay, great. That's what I was making clear. Well, I thought it was, okay, so it's, okay, that 253,000 covers the whole 5-year period?
All 5 years.
Okay, great. That's all I want to know.
All right, thank you. Thanks, John. Is there anybody else here that is present that would like to address something that really hasn't been addressed? Because I'm going to go to those on Zoom. And anybody else? All right, hearing none, is there anybody attending via Zoom that would like to address the board on the Lake Fenton special assessment? Raise your hand or unmute your mic and yell away.
Andy just.
I've got something. Can you hear me?
Yes, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's really pretty simple. Most parcels out there have one dock and 2 boats. And somebody can create a special assessment for the commercial properties. Usually you would do it per dock on a commercial property. So each dock would have a boat tied to either side. So each commercial dock is about like one residential property. So you can assess them that way. And number 2, the amount of money that you guys are talking about for the weed treatment, as was pointed out earlier, is about 1/3 of everybody else's weed treatment budget. So, you know, I think it is getting kind of a big deal out of not much. And if $250,000 is really going to cover it for 5 years, I would consider that like quite a gift. And don't really get too wound up about the state DNR access, because they probably do as much for the lake as those 30 boats a weekend, you know, use. That's it.
Thanks, Andy. You know, something I didn't think of, but, you know, having that access, you know, riparians and a riparian that's lived on this lake for over 4 decades and been blessed is that, you know, the DNR does have a boat here, and they are the only ones that can issue tickets, and they're the only ones that can, you know, seize your boat if you've had too many cocktails. So, you know, we do get a benefit from that.
No.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Jack. Was that
Well,
wrong?
we do have an ordinance for that. In fact, there's some fellow recently arrested by the sheriff's department for being drunk on the lake.
Okay, I thought the DNR could do that.
Well, they can.
Well, they can also, yes, they can also.
Both
Yes.
Oh, okay, both can. Excuse me?
Talking amongst yourselves, speak in the microphones, please.
Absolutely, sorry about that. All right, we have now, I am now going to close public hearing. I'm sure we've got some comments from the board, or do I have any questions or comments from the board?
I like Tom's idea. Let's do what we got to do with. We got the gap between the next meeting. I frankly think Andy's right. If we just count slips in the marina, I'm going to tell you it's about a $14 or $15 difference. But if it's just principal, $14 or $15 is $14 or $15. So I'm not opposed to that, looking at that alternative. But what I would like is for you to get with the association so we have a game plan as to how to do that. If you can do that between now and the next meeting, because all we're doing tonight is creating the district. We don't have to do the division, which seems to be the concept that's the most discussed.
Does everybody understand that? So tonight, we're only going to be voting on the district. So when's the next meeting?
Well, the second resolution would schedule the public hearing on the roll for August 20th.
August 20th?
Yes.
So would that give
5 weeks.
you enough time to come to the township with an idea of how you want to change the allocation?
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably sit and do the math and find out, you know, if Skipper Bud, you want him to pay more, and it's one, you know, same as one parcel per dock. You could do the math and extrapolate that out and find out what the savings are going to be. But if it's not the savings, and it's all about principle, then I guess what they would do then, Tom, is come to us.
Well, at either prior to or at the hearing, the roll could be revised and presented for confirmation at the conclusion of the hearing on the 20th. Whether the proposal comes to us and we bring the revised version of the roll in the packet, or the discussion at the hearing results in, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we revise it right on the spot and confirm it.
That's what I wanted to know, if we could do it right on the spot. Yes, Kate?
All I want to say is that I want to make sure that we don't think we're going to trigger a lawsuit over this that we can't, pretty quickly win, because I don't want the whole township paying a major tax tribunal lawsuit. I mean, I get standing on principle, and I think we might as well be in line with our principles if we can. But I don't want the whole township to pay for a major lawsuit at the tax tribunal if we're talking about, a $10 or $15 difference to people.
Jack, when we are presented with an alternative, would you be able to assess? I mean, I don't think you can with lawsuits, what
You never know if
the
someone's
potential
gonna
of a lawsuit to the township is by the tax tribunal? I mean, couldn't Skipper Buds initiate a lawsuit?
Well, they would go to the tax tribunal, and probably, if Julia was here, I don't know if she left or not. Oh,
She's back
still
there.
But so it'd probably be, a small case that would be handled by the assessor's office, not involving a lot of attorneys, simply because the numbers are so low, and it's, we're not talking like assessing Miller Industries, and we're talking over hundreds of thousands of dollars. This would probably be something done as a small claims type of case, so I don't think there'd be a lot of legal liability.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be shocked if that just isn't my experience at all.
But if you assess them, the per share that they're looking at now over 80 slots, it's like 20 grand.
Right.
And if you know anything about litigating,
yeah, right.
You'll spend far more on the lawyers than you will on the 20 grand.
Well, even
so,
at a tax tribunal, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So you can never say never.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I would like to thank everybody for coming out.
Absolutely.
Most of our meetings, there's nobody in the audience, so it's nice to actually get some feedback. Right.
Yeah, you see him around the township, but you never see him here, so it's great. So, all right. A motion is in order to adopt resolution number 2024-17 as presented. Oh, that's right, you have to read the resolution. Resolution number 2024-17, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, approves the plans and estimated cost of $245,021.56. Creates Lake Fenton Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, which includes all properties with frontage on or riparian access to Lake Fenton. Directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
I'll move the resolution.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Kotrick.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
All right. In anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll, we're going to pass on the special assessment.
No, we still need to schedule it.
Oh, we still have to
All
schedule
this
the
does
hearing.
is
That's
schedule a
right.
hearing, yes.
Special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Township Clerk. Resolution number 2024-18, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2024-18 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll at the August 20th board meeting. Directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Move the resolution.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Kessler.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Kotrick.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
All right. Next under pub.
There's an edited record that I appeal, and I will submit a petition against this. All the state said I had to do. I have to be on record that I'm appealing this. You put a motion. You didn't give us time to vet through our concerns to the motion, to the township, and many others. You didn't follow the process. You went above and beyond, taking not the entire homeowners of the entire lake voice. And you just passed a motion.
And we explained to you, all we did was pass the motion to...
On your point. My whole point was the state told me you could allow more time for us all to ingest this. If you didn't allow that, the state said, all you have to do is go on record to get an appeal, That's all I need.
We just did.
No.
Until August,
We're
August what?
allowing you till August 20th to bring back that petition.
I'll see you August 20th.
That's what we just did.
All right. All right, next under public hearing, this is a proposed water system improvement.
Right.
You need something, Tom? Air conditioning, I hope.
Do you know where the feedback's coming from? I'm not the only one hearing the feedback, am I?
I don't hear any.
I don't hear
any
you
feedback?
either.
You're not hearing either, Kessler?
What's your blood pressure?
It's getting late.
Well, thank you everyone for coming.
We got more if you want to stay.
Lots more of these.
That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. When he does that, all that does is his parcels.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't.
Sure.
So it says on his
He's rational
$200,000.
No.
But he's gonna lose that. It's just, there's no way.
All right, again, thanks everyone for coming. We're going to move on. Next under public hearings is proposed water system improvement special assessment district, landings at Cranes Cove. This is a hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a special assessment district to finance the cost of continuing the landings at Cranes Cove condominium subdivision to the municipal water system, including connection fees. The total estimated cost of the project is $360,500 to be spread over a period of time to be determined by the Township Board. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost of the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, do we have any written comments?
None.
None. All right, is there anyone here that would like to address the board tonight on the special assessment district for landings at Cranes Cove? All right. Hearing none, we will go to those attending via Zoom. Is there anyone that's joined us tonight via Zoom that would like to address the board? If so, just unmute. All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
How many parcels are there in, was it
119. 119 units in the development.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, resolution number 2024-19. Operations Manager Brokaw, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, approves the preliminary plans and estimated cost of $360,500. Creates the landings at Cranes Cove Water System Improvement Special Assessment District, which includes units 1 through 119 of the landings at Cranes Cove condominium subdivision. Directs the supervisor to create a special assessment role and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Brokaw, will you please call the roll?
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Gopel. Yes. Kessler.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Kruger's absent. Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
All right, thanks, Tom. The next step in the process will include the design and bidding out of the project. Once bids are received, a special assessment role can be created and the second public hearing will be scheduled. Moving on to reports. Tonight we have our chief, Ryan Volz, here tonight to give the fire department's second quarter report.
Oh, they like you.
Oh, come on, you guys. Everybody's got to stay for the chief's report.
Here for everything else.
Chief, you've just cleared out the room.
Sorry. Nope, no problem.
It's Taco Tuesday. Could be Taco Wednesday before we get out of here.
I was still got
Cleaned out the room, chief.
Thanks a lot. All right, we have our second quarter report for 2024. For Fenton Township, we've had 5 fire incidents, 61 medical incidents, 6 hazardous incidents, 33 service calls, 54 good intent calls, and 15 false alarms for a total of 184 alarms. We are up 13 calls from last year, from 2023. Last year we had 171 in our second quarter. Of those, Tyrone Township, second quarter report, we had 7 medicals, 2 service calls, 6 good intent calls, and 3 false alarms. We are up 1 call from last year's second quarter, 18 incidents for this year, 17 incidents for last year.
and that is the second quarter for Fenton Township and Tyrone Township.
You cleaned out the house just for that?
Just for that.
Thanks,
But
Chief.
I'm going
Is
to be
there any
sticking
other-
around for more.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Thanks for everything, Chief.
Yep.
All right. Next is the ordinance enforcement second quarter report. We've all reviewed the report in the packet. Are there any questions or comments from the board on the ordinance enforcement? All right. Next, are there any committee reports to be made to the board? Any committee reports? All right. Hearing none, the next business order is communications. Tonight we have none. Moving on to adoption of ordinances. This is the rezoning of Z024-002 BMP Laring LLC, parcel number 06-08-300-015, Laring Road, west of Linden, from R3 to Ag. This is the introduction and the first reading. We have our zoning administrator, Mike Dean, which I didn't know was here today, to review.
So there are these two outlier lots that are zoned R3 off of Laring Road, just west of Linden. Everything around it is zoned ag. We talked about it during the master plan. Master plan has always identified this area for ag, low density residential. So the request is to rezone, at this point, part of the first vacant lot, attach it to the adjacent lot that is off of Linden Road, that is existing ag, and has a horse farm, and continue the agricultural use. It's consistent with the master plan. We talked specifically about these parcels just because of the oddity of them, where they are and what they were zoned, and we were hoping that they would come in as ag, and here we are. Recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve the request. David Goldstein is here to answer any additional questions you guys might have, but it's not a slam dunk, but
Is it
as close as you can
consistent
get
with
to
the
it.
master plan, Mike?
Yes. So.
Treasurer Tucker, is there anything you'd like to
Is
add?
it consistent with
Yes,
the master plan?
it is consistent with the master
That
plan.
was it.
Okay,
We
I'm done.
specifically talked about these and made sure that they were in the low density area.
This isn't really an important question, but we have there's a little typo in the writing. I just don't want us to keep replicating it for the future. We have compatibility with the matter plan instead of the master plan.
Thank you.
And
All right.
All right. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. Tom, any written comments?
None.
All right. Is there anyone here in person that would like to address the board regarding the rezoning?
Sure. Why not?
Mr. Goldstein.
I represent BMP, and as some of you know, I kind of started this project, took it to BMP, and we're redeveloping it. We're trying to eliminate a yellow dot within a green zone, and this is the first step. And following up, I'll be coming back to you with this process because we have another gentleman who we just went under contract to, he wants to do a horse farm on the rest of the two parcels, which will eliminate more of the yellow dot in the green zone. So following the master plan, I just want to encourage everybody to strongly support this. I think it's in keeping with the master plan. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. Well, I know that the boards always love going backwards, taking anything R to ag, but all right, is there any other questions or anybody that's here that would like to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to Andy's phone. Andy, do you want to speak to the matter? All right. Hearing none, I will now close public hearing. The second reading and vote on the adoption of the proposed rezoning ordinance will be conducted at the July 30th meeting. All right, next order of business, unfinished business. Just want to remind everyone that our next board meeting is July 30th. That the first meeting in August was moved back due to the election. So everybody should have that. Oh, should have had that. Next order of business is new business. This is proposed hirings, Fenton Township Fire Department. We again pull back up our chief.
Nobody's moving, chief.
Chased them all away.
Lost another one. Something that doesn't usually happen is happening again. We have 2 new hires up on the board.
We also have another application out for an additional firefighter, which we hopefully will have for you at the next board meeting.
Great job, Chief.
But we're pleased to announce the two new applicants, Connor McCarty and Avery Offer. They're both residents of the township, or the Fenton area, and they're both eager to begin firefighter certification training. One of them is already EMT and works for MedStar Ambulance. They've been through their pre-employment, and they've also made all their other background and everything. Both will be excellent additions to the department, and I request that you guys approve them tonight to get them started tomorrow.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions or comments from the board?
Also, Connor is here tonight, so after the approval, if Tom could please swear him in, appreciate it.
I'll go for the approval of both, then we'll have Connor come up. All right, a motion is in order to approve the hiring of Connor McCarty as a member of the Fenton Township Fire Department.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Lorraine.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, welcome, Connor. We're going to swear in the second one, and then we'll swear him in.
Oh.
We'll approve the other one.
Approve the other one, yes.
Yes.
All right, a motion is in order to approve the hiring of Avery Offer as a member of the Fenton Township Fire Department.
I'll move the motion.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operation Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Kessler.
Yes.
Gopal.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm
All right.
sorry, I'm so excited, I want to get him going.
No, that's a problem. Connor, come on up.
Before he changes his mind.
Dad, you
Tom
can come
will
up front if
swear you
want.
in.
You want, come on up front. Dad,
Family?
come on up here. You don't have to do it from behind. Come on up here. All right. This side of him looks better, I can tell you.
Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Connor McCarty.
I, Connor McCarty,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to faithfully execute the duties
to faithfully execute the duties
as firefighter for Charter Township of Fenton,
as firefighter for Charter Township of Fenton,
to selflessly serve the citizens of Fenton Township
selflessly serve the citizens of Fenton
with respect, integrity, and excellence,
with respect, integrity, and excellence,
and to uphold the mission
and uphold the mission
of the Fenton Township Fire Department,
of the Fenton Township Department,
Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Michigan,
Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the laws and ordinances of Fenton Township.
and the laws and ordinances of Fenton Township,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome, Connor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Have a great night. All right, moving on to new business. This is the proposed independent contractor agreement with Loris Engineering. We've all reviewed the renewal in our packet. Operations Manager Broker, can you do a 30,000?
I can find my notes.
If you can find your notes.
You want to wing it?
I probably can.
You can wing it.
So this, the agreement is virtually identical to the agreement done 3 years ago. We've updated the quantities of pump stations, which went from, I think, 57 to 58, and then the Omni sites, which are the monitoring systems on the pump stations, and all of them now have it. Only less than half did 3 years ago. We've updated language regarding public water, since we now actually have public water. Added language regarding if we do the large-scale video inspection programs, added some responsibilities. The compensation and hourly rates were adjusted, roughly 9% on the compensation as opposed to 15% inflation during that time. All of the provisions remain the same, and the proposed term is also 3 years.
All right. I want to take a couple of minutes, or a minute or so, and just kind of fill in the board my relationship with Lawrence Engineering. I sit on this board for 15 years, over 15 years, and since I've been in the seat of supervisor, I have really come to appreciate the relationship that our engineering firm has with the township. I get texts from Melissa or Alan, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, it can be 6 o'clock in the morning. She'll call me at 6 o'clock in the morning. They work for this township 24/7. They have over 2 decades of experience. People can say, well, maybe we could save some money, we could hire, an engineer and have them in-house. Well, I've even had Tom look at those numbers. And to get a good engineer, a level 5 engineer, costs about $180,000 a year. You put together all the benefits. It's a big number. I've even looked at other townships to ask them if we got an engineer in-house to share the cost. This township cannot replace the experience that they have. And as supervisor, I can't tell you enough what they do for the township. Give you an example, in the process I went through with MDOT on the bridge, usually engineering costs between 8 and 10% of a project. So let's say the bridge project's $10 million, just to make it even. Engineering is going to be $800,000 of that. That's pretty much standard. It could be a little less, could be more. We have 2 projects right now that are going on in the township right now. As we know, we call one the Tupper Lake or the Tucker project and the Jennings Roach project. I had Tom run some numbers just to give you an example. The project for Tupper Lake is looking at coming in at about $7.8 million. So to have an outside engineer do that work for this township, you can do the math. That's $780,000. Right now, Lawrence Engineering has charged us $74,000, and I think Melissa, I think you could say that the job's complete. For a savings of about $600,000. So the things that Lawrence Engineering does, again, their experience, they know every pump station. If pump station number 29 goes down, and we have 4 of them, the last rain we had about 8 of them. 6 o'clock in the morning, Lawrence Engineering's on the job. Calling me to let me know what's going on. I think the savings to this township, people can question, how long they've been here. To me, that's experience. I appreciate the experience of my longest serving employees because they bring a lot of value. And for that, you have to pay for that value. And I highly recommend that this relationship with our engineering firm, you support this, because I certainly do. So I will open up to any questions or comments from the board.
I will echo everything you just said. And in fact, I was thinking about it earlier this afternoon, and we call them our township engineers. That's not really what they are. They do that. And I watch around as other municipalities hire engineers at the rates Vince has been talking about. But what these folks do is they do that. But what we use them for is our first emergency responders. If there is a problem in the township, they are our damage control folks. And it is a 24/7, 365, never get a vacation, you hope the weather's good kind of a job. So, somebody would have to come to me and show me that I could get better and more service for less dollars, and I think you're wasting your time. Is it a lot of money? Yep. It's a lot of service that they provide, and again, I'll emphasize what Vince said. 20 years, you got a 58 pump sanitary sewer systems. You got engineers that are coming from the wrong place. They're going to have no clue as to how to model that. Melissa's been modeling this system for 20 years now. And they come to us and say, hey, here's the problem that you're going to see down the road. Let's deal with it now. And other folks would be, hey, we got a problem. We'd be in the same situation that we were when we had to spend $25 million to try and put the thing back together again. So I echo everything Vince has said. I've worked with them a lot. They're always responsive to me. They're helpful on everything township and non-township related. So I thank them.
I did ask Melissa to be here if the board has any questions.
I appreciate you asking for Melissa and not Alan.
No, I just wanted to make sure if there were any questions from the board. Yes, Kate.
This isn't really an objection to this contract, but I do think every time we talk about Lawrence Engineering, we talk about how irreplaceable they are, and all that knowledge that they have about our system. I think that's
Yeah, not irreplaceable. Hard
to replace.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's a reality, you gotta deal with it.
Right, I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Yeah.
I guess what concerns me sometimes about that is, you know, they're probably not going to want to do it for forever, or I don't know, maybe they will.
Nobody can.
But
Can't.
you know, you never know. Maybe the secrets of immortality or somewhere in the pump stations. But
I'll volunteer.
I just do think it would be good for us to, at some point, you know, make plans for what happened, how we would replace them, what sort of price we think we would pay, and try to gauge that to some degree, because I really have no idea what that would even look like. And that does also make it kind of hard for us to assess whether we're getting a good value, because it's really hard to imagine how we would even replace them.
Right.
With all the knowledge. I mean, when I came on this board, I had no idea the complexity of our sewer system. It was the first thing we kind of learned. It was shocking, but it's also the thing I feel like I still don't really fully grasp. Like, you know, we can look at, eventually we figure out how much a road is supposed to cost. You know, there's a lot of things I didn't necessarily know that I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on. But the sewer system isn't one of them, and I do want to make sure that I doubt that's just me who feels like they don't grasp it in as much detail as everything else. So I don't know. I would like some sort of long-term planning going on related to that.
You know, I've had this conversation with Melissa and Alan, because when we came to contract time, when I sat down and started talking to them, I asked them, are you going to be in business? I'm running again. I'm going to be here for 4 years, hopefully, unless the people decide not to elect me. But I wanted to know if they're going to be here for 4 years, because I depend on them. And I'm not talking about once a week. I depend on them almost every day. But I can tell you, I sat in that same chair for 10 years. And until I got in this chair, I didn't know any more than you do. Because until you live it, I walked in one. First day, Alan said, you know what, or first month, he said, you want to know the system? We're going to go right in the middle of it. And they strapped a harness around me and threw me in the bottom of a pump station. I've learned a lot over the last 4 years. And we do have, I think, Melissa, I don't want to say something that's not true, but we have 58 pump stations, and that's larger than Grand Rapids, right, as the number of pump stations? Yeah, I mean, we have a system that's crazy because of all the lakes. It takes a lot. So we have had, and I can tell you this as sitting in this chair, I worry about that also, being able to replace that. And we will put together a plan. Again, Lawrence Engineering isn't one engineer. It's three. So in essence, you know, we do, you know, if, you know, somebody's not there tomorrow, there's other people, and we will put together a succession plan. You know, if there is a necessity for one during my tenure here, we'll make sure that we implement one of those, you know, going forward, because you're right. I've learned just about enough to know that it would be very scary to try to bring somebody in from scratch.
Yeah, and the last thing we want is a bunch of sewer backups. I can imagine.
How long has it been, Tom?
Very expensive. Treasurer says no.
Yeah, knock on something. It's been, you know, they've made recommendations for Omni sites. I mean, our system is about as sophisticated, but also it's the most managed I've ever seen. I mean, it's like I said, if something goes down at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's someone there to watch over it and babysit it. And she makes sure that I'm up.
And I will tell you, they do offer tours, Kate.
Yeah,
they come at
that's
6 in the
first
morning.
thing. Well, I don't know. We haven't been down into one of the pumps.
Yeah.
But,
But we did the tour.
You did the tour?
Yeah,
You got the
that
nickel
was
tour?
The first thing we did.
Yeah.
Really, and it was impressive. The scale was surprising to me.
Yeah.
Shocking, maybe.
Well, and the reason we got to do this, I mean, you guys got here after this, but we had a ton of problems.
Right.
Okay. Not only we have to spend a ton of money in bond revenue, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but the cost to remediate these basements. You know, everybody's got finished basement now. You were dropping $250,000 every time there was a backup. So, you know, the cost benefit of prevention is real, especially in this context, in this township.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Does anybody have a question for Lawrence Engineering? Melissa is here if you have a question. All right. Hearing nothing, a motion is ordered to approve the independent contractor agreement for engineering with Lawrence Engineers PC as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Kotrick.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Kessler.
Yes.
Gopel. Yes. Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to next under new business, resolution number 2024-20, proposed water system improvement special assessment district. This is for Glen Devon. Operations Manager Broker, will you review?
Yes, so the process we initiated and had the first hearing on for landings at Cranes Cove tonight, Glen Devon has requested virtually the same thing, and they're right across the street, ironically. They have a type 1 well system. They're paying a lot of money for arsenic remediation, and they want to connect to the municipal system. And so it's kind of the same process. We're working on with landings at Cranes Cove, looking at the cost of the actual reconnecting plus the connection fees rolled into a special assessment district. The number of years would be determined by the board. Unlike a road that has a useful life of a limited useful life, this could be up to a 20-year if that's what we decide, but that's later in the process. But for now, we just have a resolution that would initiate the process and schedule that first public hearing for the August 20th meeting.
All right, thanks, Tom. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, resolution number 2024-20, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2024-20 tentatively declares the township's intent to construct water system improvements for the Glen Devon condominium subdivision, tentatively designates the special assessment district as Glen Devon Water System Improvement Special Assessment District, which includes units 1 through 132 of the Glen Devon condominium subdivision. Schedules a public hearing for the August 20th board meeting, directs the clerk to publish and mail the hearing notice in accordance with statute, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
I'll move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Krug is absent. Kotrick.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Gopel. Yes. Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right, next under new business is resolution number 2024-21. This is to schedule a public hearing on the special assessment role, Pinnacle Shores Street Improvement Special Assessment District. I know we've reviewed the memo, but Operations Manager Broker, can you provide some additional details?
Yes, the Road Commission recently took the bids for the Pinnacle Shores project. The low bid of $752,000 and change was submitted by LA Construction Corporation and is actually about 3.6% below our original estimate, and it was about 8% below the pre-bid estimate. So the special assessment role has been based on that low bid, certified by the supervisor and filed with the clerk's office, and the next step in the process is to schedule a public hearing on the special assessment role.
All right, thanks, Tom. Any questions or comments from the board? Yes, Kate.
Well, I abstained from this before. This is, I do benefit from this. I'm not sure if I really needed to abstain or not, but I think we should probably continue the same.
Right, I think that in that approval was a blanket approval going forward.
Okay.
They don't have to approve you to abstain
Okay,
again.
all right.
And I did it
Yeah.
for my sub too,
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing, so I think that's right. Yeah.
And I also want to say, yeah, I really appreciate this. I know everyone in the neighborhood is really looking forward to not having all the potholes anymore. And they were glad it came in under bid, partially,
It's huge.
partially because you pay less, but partially because they were horrified. I thought it could be overbid and then not happen. So that's just the word on the street from Pinnacle Shores.
All right, thanks, Kate.
Is this all phases, Tom?
All existing roads.
All constructed
Yeah,
phases?
existing roads, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, the list of roads, I think, is in the notice that was attached.
To this?
Or no, that's right, the notice wasn't in here yet.
Yeah, I was looking for it, I didn't see it, but it's
Yeah,
all of them anyway.
It'll be in the notice that
All
goes
the-
out. but
all the ones that are
there's
built
about
out.
5 or 6 streets, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Any
they
other
have
questions?
finally, just so you know, they have finally started building houses again in the neighborhood. So we are hoping, I'm not sure, Mr. Atwell, I'm forgetting when he came back before the board for like an extension, but property owners are concerned with just all the traffic on the roads. I mean, he has a back road that he's planning to build eventually and a different entrance through the neighborhood. And I think everyone does hope that that gets built as soon as possible so that there's not as much wear on the roads, especially after they get the new.
I did talk to him
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
I called him up, you know, told him that the concerns were raised, and he was, said that he was planning on opening that up so that it would, you know, eliminate some of that traffic. So I don't know if that's been a while now, I don't know if
Yeah.
he's done anything or not, but
not as
he's
far
at
as
least, he's at least aware of the
Yeah.
concerns. So.
Yeah, and I think most people felt like if they're gonna be paying this big chunk of money toward the roads, then
Right.
they're gonna be more worried about them. Like, right now, it's not as big of a
Right.
concern because they're already beat
Beaten
up
up,
and
yeah.
we're already.
Right.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, resolution number 2024-21, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2024-21 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll at the July 30th board meeting, directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
I'll move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Reed.
Yes.
Gopal. Yes. Tucker.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Kotrick. Oh, abstaining, of course. Motion carries.
All right, thanks, Tom. Next under new business is resolution number 2024-22, New Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Loon Lake. Operations Manager Broker, will you review?
Yes, this was kind of a late add to the agenda, but since it's basically a renewal like we're doing at Byram and Lake Fenton, we added it to the agenda. Simply, they've submitted a new proposal for another 5-year program, and so we've created a resolution to schedule the first public hearing to create the district.
All right, thanks, Tom. Any questions or comments from the board?
This one was hotly contested originally. I don't know if that's still the case.
Crane was.
Was it Crane?
It was Crane. It was,
Crane?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Loon was
yeah,
pretty
you're
much
right.
on board at the start. But
You're right.
Crane took a
Crane was
while.
pretty high,
They had
yeah.
a couple fails before they got theirs in.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, resolution number 2024-22, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, Resolution 2024-22 tentatively declares the township's intent to continue the lake improvement project for Loon Lake, tentatively designates the special assessment district as Loon Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, which includes all properties with frontage on or legal access to Loon Lake, schedules a public hearing for the July 30th board meeting, directs the clerk to publish and mail of the hearing notice in accordance with statute, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
I will move the resolution.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Kotrick.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right, thanks, Tom. Next under new business, proposed revisions to sewer use fees. Operations Manager Broker, will you please review?
You want me to give the good news?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm going to have you
You
give
know-
the
you know
good
what?
news.
I dropped the ball here because I should have amended the agenda. This should have been at the very top of the meeting.
Yeah, I could have got,
We had a
yeah, there
room
you
full of
go.
people. Everybody been in a great mood, and here we are. Everybody's chief scared everybody off, and we got good news, and nobody here. No fun.
It'll be
Few
the
people.
front page of the paper. Guarantee it.
Hannah will take care of us.
So, as has been discussed for several years, the retirement of 2 large sewer bond issues this year puts the township in a position to lower sewer use fees. Included in the packet is a comparison of the current rates and the rates proposed to be implemented effective October 1st. The standard quarterly residential flat rate, which is the one people are most familiar with, is proposed to be reduced from $255 to $195, which is a $60 reduction, or about 24%. Flat rate commercial and all meter-based rates are proposed to be reduced equivalent amounts. The late charge rate, which was reduced from 10% to 1% when the rate went to $255, is proposed to be increased back to 5%. One of the reasons for that is we have about 12 to 13% of all sewer use fees go delinquent on the taxes each year. And I think it becomes like a free loan at 1%, it's a little too light. So,
Well, but the concept, remember, those of you that weren't here when 255 was originally created, is that, you know, there was shock and appall about, you know, so the solution to that was to lower the late charge so that people that didn't have it, because it was a big, went from, I think it was 60 before it was 255.
well, it had gone up a couple of times, but it about tripled, almost tripled when it went to 255.
But the idea was to give them an avenue so that, you know, they could pay it over time without a severe penalty. So 5% is quite light for that.
5%. What? A quarter, a month, a year?
Well, it's a one-time if they're late, then it's a one-time 5% late charge.
Okay, so it doesn't accrue, it's just per quarter.
It's just for that bill. There's one late charge for that quarterly bill if it's not paid on time. Yeah.
Which if you do the math is 5% of 95, we'll round it to 100, $5.
What?
I just say it.
Say it again.
So the new fee is, well, no, I did the math wrong. It's $195.
$195.
It's $10. Rounded to 200. It's $10.
Right.
My apologies on the math.
So although the effective date is proposed to be October 1st, we're asking the board to approve it now because it would affect the quarterly billings done in August and September, since they would include the month of October or October and November. So we would have some prorated bills for the next couple of cycles before it's fully implemented if approved. And just to point out that based on an updated cash flow model, which includes the anticipated issuance of $15.5 million in new debt within the next 12 months in our model to fund some planned sewer projects, the rate reduction is still projected to maintain adequate cash flows for the next 20 years. And we do monitor and update the cash flow every year.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions or comments from the board?
The only thing I would add is the sewer fund had been absorbing county level increases through this process. So we were getting so much kickback on 255. And I think that with this adjustment down, that isn't necessarily going to be the case, although we're hoping not to get any more increases. If they do come along, we're not going to necessarily just be able to continue to eat them in the sewer fund.
We're probably at least 4 years out from the county potentially raising the rate. But you're right. If this reduction is approved, we probably would have to pass on in future county increases.
And if we hadn't had to eat all those ones up till now, the reduction would be even greater, because this is kind of...
Or we might have been able to do it sooner.
Yeah, right. And the number, you know, the number that you would have been paying would have moved north of where it is. So this gets them closer back to where they would be.
Well, you know, we talk about the sophistication of the sewer system that we have, 58 pump stations. People that have benefited from it have had to pay a price for it, but we're now reducing their rates. The system is in great shape, and so.
And there were certain people that said, never would it happen. I heard that comment. I was at all of those meetings. I heard a lot of, never will it happen. Okay, I'm just saying.
Well, a little context. My daughter, who just graduated from high school, was 5 months old when this rate went into effect.
That's context. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing not, a motion is in order to adopt the revised sewer use fee rates effective October 1st, 2024 as
Please let me
presented.
move it.
And I will support.
I didn't wait for him to finish talking. I talked over him just to get in.
I love it. All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operation Benner Broker, will you please call the roll?
Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Patrick. Yes. Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I think Bob did want to vote no on that. For the record. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Next under new business, proposed amendments to the 2024 Fenton Township budget. Operations Manager Boca, will you review?
Yes. Not major amendments to the budget. We've got a few to the general fund and sewer fund. Highlight some of the medium to larger amendments. $4,900 increase to property tax revenue just to reflect the actual amount we collected. $40,000 increase to legal fees due to the ongoing litigation regarding the tax reverted properties. $7,500 increase to overtime due to the work required for early voting and election day, so that'll all, the early voting stuff will get reimbursed. $125,000 expense increase for the Stony Brook Drain Project, which was budgeted last year but not completed until this year. $17,000 increase to contracted services and planning and zoning. This is carryover again for the master plan project, which was budgeted all for last year but not fully completed till this year. The net change for the general fund, with these amendments, the projected total fund balance would be reduced by about $118,000 from the end of last year. However, the unrestricted fund balance would be increased by $131,000. In the sewer fund, $10,000 increase to admin expense to match the actual expense from 2023, and $200,000 increase to contracted services video inspection expense. This project started in late 23 and was not included in the original 24 budget. The proposed sewer fund amendments reduced the projected cash reserves by $212,000. No amendments proposed for the other funds at this time.
The admin expense is the township charge?
Yes.
For township service?
It's basically allocating staffing and overhead costs.
Admin allocation.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing none, a motion is in order to adopt the amendments up to the 2024 Fenton Township budget as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Kessler.
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Gopel. Yes. Motion carries.
All right, thanks, Tom. Moving on to board comment. Is there anyone on the board who has additional comments or
I
concerns?
just wanted to ask, I felt like maybe I just blanked it from my memory because the meeting went on for quite a while. Did we approve the expenditures?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, 900.
We did.
That was about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that was about 2 hours ago, so understandable. All right. So is there anyone that has additional comments or concerns?
Every time we move a meeting, we get punished. Does it seem that way? I mean, actually, for everything we did.
2 hours is
for
great.
2 hours now.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well,
Voted on?
Yeah.
You saying we didn't?
I don't remember us doing it.
yeah, we did, Tom.
Yeah, I know we did the
Yeah, because I remember reading it,
Mr.
900
Tucker-
and
Mr.
some
Tucker
odd
made
thousand.
the motion,
Yeah,
Mr. Kessler seconded.
Oh, yeah, as long as it
Oh,
happens.
yeah, absolutely. It's recorded too.
All right, I just got one thing I want to talk about, and in front of you, you have a picture of our new water tower. I don't know if any of you have driven by it, but it is getting close to completion. Actually, Melissa was able to climb up it first to see the inside, but Jeff is going to allow me to climb up it to when it is finished, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm sure Jeff would let you. Absolutely. This is what the new water township will look like when it's painted and completed. Just wanted to let those that have joined us tonight, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, it should be up and running. What they're saying is Melissa?
October.
Yeah, I was going to say early October.
What is the slogan going to be on it?
Welcome to Fenton Township.
Well, no, Vince's picture is on the other side. He didn't show you the back side, you know.
I've hidden the backside. Oh my God.
You're taking some abuse
I'm
tonight.
just taking some abuse. All right, moving on to the next business order, which is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. I will now open up the meeting for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Is there anybody that's here present that would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Come on up and just give us your name and. Hi.
I'm Lee Brisbane. I live in Pinnacle Shores. I have a couple of concerns. One, we only have one way in and one way out of Pinnacle Shores. Last year, around this time, I was coming home down Owen Road, a gravel train tipped over. They had both sides of Owen Road blocked off, and nobody could go into or out of that subdivision. I think that's a serious hazard for maybe an ambulance couldn't get in or something, a fire. I think that needs to be addressed. You live there too. We only have one way in and one way out. I live all the way at the very back of the subdivision. We sat on the sides of Owen Road for over an hour while they cleared up the gravel that had tipped over before anybody could come in or out of the sub. That's one of my concerns. Another concern is Mr. Atwell decided to take a field that was behind not only my house, but all the way down Stepping Stone. I'm on Sleepy Hollow, down Stepping Stone, and I don't know what the name of the other, is that Oak Tree Trail? I don't know. He went up behind, there's probably 25 houses involved. My whole backyard is a farm now, will be a farm. And that wasn't.
It's your property?
Pardon?
It's your property?
Butts
up to your property?
It's right on my property line. Okay. And right now, it's all trenched up and flooding. My concern is my well. I don't want pesticides going into my well, and the zoning manager said that his use something is up for review soon here. He had some sort of a farm exclusion that he applied for back in, I don't know when. But yes, it's very upsetting to me because I built my dream home and I didn't plan on having a farm behind me, so.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. I didn't realize there was going to be a farm going back there, which I don't know how. I was under the impression that he was planning to build eventually all the way back there. Has that changed?
Wow.
Mike's in a good mood.
So Mr. Atwell has been back in front of you guys 3 times, right, asking for extension of his plat for phase 3. What he didn't tell you guys was that he had entered that property into a federal preservation program. All right? So he was not actually able to develop it while he came back and asked for extensions of his approval to you guys. So he's up for his extension again in December, based on whatever application we get. I believe it may be in the best interest of the township to make him comply with the current zoning ordinance for that final phase. But we got calls, right, telling us that he was starting to farm it again because it's no longer in that program. From a zoning perspective, it was like, oh, well, it's a non-conforming use. You can't do that, right, because it was rezoned planned unit development 20, 30 years ago. But it's been in this farming preservation program. So from that perspective, it has been continuing a farming use, even though farming has not gone on there. I know that people have bought their homes, adjacent to phase 3, with the understanding that phase 3 would be done because that's how it's been marketed. And it has been in this program for the past 10 years when it wasn't actually eligible to be developed. So that is where we are at right now.
Okay, well, that's very surprising to me because, I saw everything get cut down. I just assumed that was part of the progression to the actual building, but no.
Phase 3 is not sold out at all.
Well, it sounds like it can't be.
No, it's not even.
So he's no longer enrolled in that program, right? So that's why he's back to farming it now. I don't know if they realized that he probably shouldn't have been it to begin with, or what, but he came into the office the other day wanting to, make an application for phase 3, but.
So he put it in this farm thing, and that has a expiration date?
Yeah, it was a 10-year program.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Which just ended.
Which he's done, it's just expired, so now he can, theoretically, if he chose to, he can go back to phase 3, if he gets approved.
Yeah, because that's what the zoning, it was PUD, right? So it was back in the day, it was ag. But then he specifically came in and did a rezoning with you guys to take it out of ag into a medium density residential subdivision. And
Price it expires.
well, it's different programs, right? So it's not the state program, the PA 116, right? That one, once you're in, good luck,
I'm shocked that it's had an expiration.
Is that the federal program,
Yes.
part of a federal program that pays you for not farming?
Yes.
Okay.
Mike, can you speak to the single access?
Yeah,
you should be asking me, because I was here, I think, when this came in. I am looking at it, there is a boulevard at the road, but it's only for 50 or 100 feet.
The second entrance is the one that's supposed to come in off Bennett Lake Road, but it's not built yet.
And there,
Under that street, that's where I live. One more lot, and then it should have been the road.
There is a gated off, like, 2-track.
Yeah, but that's, Chief, you got anything else that you know about that gets you in and out of there?
So with the extended wide boulevard, it meets the requirement for exit discharge. So I went through Lawrence with this 3 years ago. Everything's far. And then with the incident with the gravel train, the reason that people were restricted from going in there was because public safety closes stuff down like that until the incident is removed. If people need to get in there, they could have got in there.
All right.
I also took a call from the surveyor last week, and I was advised that Mr. Atwell is supposed to be coming back to the township for both of his developments that are underway to get approvals to.
Thanks, Julia.
So
That
there's a
answer
lot
your
of moving parts on this, and I don't think anybody knows where we're at until he acts.
What I'd recommend is stay in touch with the township, and
It's just very concerning for me, and that wasn't my plan to have a farm in my backyard. You know.
I understand.
He told me nothing
When
would
you say
ever be
farm,
done.
are you talking animals or just like crops?
He came to my door and got in an argument with me because he wanted to know if I came to the township and complained about it. And I said, yes, I did. And I told him I don't want fertilizer going into my well, or your well should be deep enough, blah, blah, blah. He started an argument with 3 or 4 people in the subdivision.
So I talked to Tom, and my recommendation, be a good neighbor, right? Talk to the people who are most affected. See what you can do to make them happy. That's not how he took that.
He came to people's doors and got in fights with us.
Oh, boy.
I know at least 3 other people he got in a fight with. He started at my house and went down the street, and, he told me when I bought that lot, nothing would ever be back there. So.
He was in a program to get paid not to make crops, but he grew crops.
Well, no, he's out of the program.
It expired.
And now he's growing crops.
Now he's growing.
Because he doesn't want to pay the taxes on the land. He's making money by leasing it to him.
So they continuously done it until they stopped.
Right. I've been there 4 years, it's never been done.
well, they do, yeah, thank you. They, like Mike said, he has to come to the board to get approval, so
That's why I'm here.
stay in touch with Mike.
Aware of it. I've talked to him on several occasions.
All right, thank you. Anybody else that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Yes?
Can the planning commission also fund the water tower?
Melissa? I guess I'll call Jeff on my board, I'll have Melissa call on your board, how's that?
Which side are we bungee jumping from? That's what I want to know.
Well, the side that's got the big M for Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Hey, question on that tower anyway. Is there going to be a antenna on top of it for revenue purposes?
Nothing as of yet. Somebody would have to come to the township and request that.
Sure, that's a high spot, so.
That would be
Highest.
great.
Yeah, absolutely.
The coverage in Fenton stinks. I don't know if any of you know.
Especially Fenton Road.
Yeah.
I know
If
there's
you-
a tower right at Thompson and Torrey.
Right.
Yeah, right behind the bowling alley, but still, that's.
If you take North Long Lake to about my building, it's like a dead zone.
Torrey Road.
Oh, you're talking Torrey Road.
Torrey Road South, has always been there.
Oh, okay.
Police radios too.
Fenton Road North too.
Yeah, it's,
Right above the road.
Fenton Road's terrible. Yeah, you're right. You pass the water tower by about 100 yards and it's dead for about a quarter of a mile. Yep, you're right. That's something that I'm sure anybody out there that's got a business mind is wanting to make money off cell towers. All right, is there anybody else here that wants to?
I got one other thing.
Yes, Juliet.
Going back to Michigan Tax Tribunal, we've gotten on a special assessment thing. One thing, we talked about skipper buds and the DNR filing with Michigan Tax Tribunal. All of those residents there have that same opportunity to do so. Could take individual tribunal cases. I think the best thing for us to do is to look at, and I'll try and do this, look at tribunal cases of how special assessments are done, what the different policies and procedures are, he stated that there's been others and how they prorated those areas or commercial with docking. I think we should look into that a little bit more, just to get that information, so.
I was going to talk to you in the morning to have you arm the board with that information, so when anybody comes back and addresses us and says this, this, and this, we'd go, well, you're right, or no, you're wrong.
Well, there's certain things that you have to do with special assessment, but it's not just Skipper Bud's filing a lawsuit. If we do something that all those 50% ownership people don't like about the special assessment, they can all file individual cases as well. So
Okay.
it's not just one or the other that you're looking at when you do. And I would also say that this question has come up more than once. Somewhere on our website, there should be a process in what a special assessment is and who's in control of the special assessments. So it's more known that you guys aren't in control of this. It's who brings it to you, but nobody understands that. And I think if we can get some of that knowledge out there on our website regarding special assessments,
We do.
I think that would also help out greatly.
We do have that information out there. It should be out, isn't it, Tom? I talked to Monica about that. I'm pretty sure that we were,
may have
remember
some-
you and I have talked about it a
We
lot.
may have some information out there, but we can, you know, we could, well, we put the board packets out there, which I thought would be enough of an explanation, but we can try to be a little more specific.
I would like to automate the whole process. So we have a form on there for a special assessment district. Somebody can go to our site, fill out the form, start the process, have example language, and I think that'd be a way to do it too. If we just haven't got that part.
Knowing what the process is, because they all believe that you guys are in control of.
Yeah, we know that.
way forever.
Yep.
It'll be that way forever.
Anybody else that'd like to address the board? Yes, sir, in the back. Gary, come on up.
That's correct.
I know. I've known you a long time.
I have been here 4 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, 4 years. You're on a list.
Yeah.
Am I?
We keep you on the
Fantastic.
list, though.
I hope it's a good one. I have a concern about our elections. I know the township isn't in control of the elections in Michigan, except it's maybe a local one, but who here knows if the voter rolls have been purged of dead people and people that have moved away and stuff like that? I understood 4 years ago there was a lot of people that were voting that were either dead or didn't live here anymore.
Well, our clerk is out, but Gary, I think Tom is as educated as you can get when it comes to elections. I'm sure he can.
When it comes to the voter rolls, any person who lives in Genesee County and passes away, we get a notification to remove them immediately. If we get any mailing back from a voter as undeliverable, then we send out a confirmation notice. If that also comes back, then they are put on what's called cancellation countdown, and their status is changed to verify, which means they'd have to verify residency before they'd be allowed to vote. Unfortunately, the way the state law works, once they go on cancellation countdown, we have to wait 2 November election cycles. So basically, depending on the timing, up to almost 4 years before we officially take them off, unless we get confirmation in other ways. So, are there people on there that aren't really here? Yes. Are they voting? No, absolutely not.
Okay. So for this election cycle, they would have had been I don't know, what would have happened for the people that shouldn't be voting now?
Well, if they go on cancellation countdown the moment we get an indication that they're no longer here. Now,
Right.
again, if we get a death notice or if they get that confirmation notice forwarded to them, they send it back and say, yeah, I moved here, we cancel them. But if everything comes back, then state law says, okay, you put them on cancellation countdown, you wait 2 November election cycles, then you cancel them. But their status is such as, if they tried to vote, they would have to verify their residency in the township before they'd be allowed to vote.
But even if they didn't, you still check all signatures, right, for absentee ballots?
Oh, yeah, but you wouldn't even be able to get a ballot issued if you're not, if your status is not, if your status is cancellation, countdown, or verify, you don't get a ballot unless your residency is verified that you're still there.
But it sounds like your issue, that your concern is like someone doing an absentee ballot, right? My aunt just died.
I'm worried about just plain out illegal voting.
They check the signature of every absentee ballot against what's on the voter card. Every single one.
I mean, when I go,
if there's issues, it's checked by multiple.
anyone else here, I'm pretty sure, even yourselves, I mean, and if you're there, you know who you are, but I mean, I go in to vote, I have to show my ID, I know who I am, and I make sure everyone else knows who I am when I go to vote. Hey, this is me, right? So, I just, there's been a lot of questions the last, 3 big election cycles about illegal voting, and I think it's a big deal. So, I thought I'd bring it up.
No.
That's a couple questions.
Appreciate it, Gary.
And according to the sewer thing, pardon my French, but damn straight, they're good people that are taking care of our sewers. My sewers, the alarms go off, they're not working. I live not too far from the what do you call it, the pump station?
Lift station, yeah.
And I call the number. I got a program on my phone because I live so close, and I call and say, hey, the alarm's going off. Somebody's in there within 15, 20 minutes probably. So, I mean, they're on it. And then sometimes they're there with a pump or a generator, and they're running it, and they're babysitting. That's right. And last question, what's the rule on having any chickens at your house in the township?
We have an ordinance for that.
I thought about getting a couple chickens for the hell of it, just for fun.
Move to the city.
Get a privacy fence, get female chickens so they can't hear them.
No,
Buy
for
as many
real.
as you want. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't encourage people to.
For real. I'm not making a joke.
The real answer is that they're allowed in our agricultural zoning district as of today. Now, it is an issue that gets brought up periodically. It is on the list of things the planning commission is going to review if we ever get done with short-term rentals. So right now, if you're an ag property, you can do it. If you're not, you cannot. But the planning commission is going to review that as an absolute issue.
So in my residential, I cannot any? Okay, that's why I asked, because I've been told that you could have up to 4, but I'm like, I want to confirm
It's the
that.
city. I think that's the city of Fenton.
Oh, is that the city of Fenton?
You can have a chicken in the city of Fenton.
Not in the township.
Yeah, but the city.
No, you can't in the city.
Yeah.
You can, just in ag.
Yeah. Yeah, have some come over and visit, and
Yeah,
then
there
tell
you
them to
go.
go away. Yeah,
Bacon and eggs.
okay.
Welcome back, Gary, after.
All right. All right, thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Is there anybody else that is here with us tonight that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? If not, Andy, it's Andy's phone. Would you like to address the board? Wake up, Andy.
Yep, still here, all good. One more thing I just kind of wanted, I think I might have missed, is on that commercial weed assessment. It's going to be a big number all at once to skipper buds and shoemakers, but it gets the slip owners to take a little bit ownership in the lake, and it gets the property owners, to feel like those commercial lots are kicking into the lake as well. And that's all that I should have said earlier, but I was thinking about why we were wrapping up here.
No problem, Andy, I appreciate it. And the board listened. All right, anybody, I guess there's no one else on Zoom. There is no one else here that would like to address the board, so it is now 8:44 p.m. If there's nothing else, I say good night, and the meeting is adjourned.
Taco Tuesday.
Yep.